Okay.
Yeah, we're just staying hydrated. Get a sip of that water. This is Robert, and thank you for tuning in to the show. And yeah, hope everybody is doing okay after all the craziness that has been going on, like politically, just everywhere in the world. Like, my heart goes out to everybody that's been affected by fires, and now the floods apparently going on in the south. Like, what is going on, man? So, yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for being here, and especially want to thank my special guest in the corner that I believe also does a podcast. But yeah, this is Justine S. Harrison. Thank you so much for joining me on this lovely episode for tonight.
Hi, thanks. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, of course. So I guess to start this off, how are you doing? How is 2025?
It's a little crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy for everybody right now.
It's been it's been a long year so far, and it's only
The
March, but
longest year
yeah.
so far.
But I did
Sheesh.
celebrate my 1 year wedding anniversary in February.
Ah,
So
congrats.
yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, at least you got that going on. Just celebrate anniversary. So I just want to wish congrats once again.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. That's nice of you. I appreciate it.
Yep, of course. But other than that, what are some, oh, if you can even talk about them, like what is something that you're kind of working on at the moment that you want to share?
Yeah, I'm in an ongoing murder mystery, which I've been involved with for a while now. It's called Murdered by the Mob, and it is like a interactive dinner theater murder mystery comedy called Murdered by the Mob, which I just said. And it's really fun. It's a fun night out for people. We just did one the other night. It goes up a couple times a month. I've been with the cast for a few years now, so it's definitely like a really fun event. And sorry if I'm a little congested. I'm having some sinus issues. But and then also I am in a movie that's premiering in the end of the month at Garden State Film Festival called Beggar Man. And it also has theatrical distribution, so it should be out sometime this year in theaters.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Like, I'm just super glad that, you're just in a lot of movies, just staying productive and busy during these times because, yeah, like I said, things are kind of pretty much to say that we're kind of in a season where everybody's just kind of on edge for a pretty good reason like that. I'm pretty sure I don't want to really go too much into that, but yeah, like this is not really the podcast for politics or any of that stuff. You just wanted to listen to this just to hear us just ramble or just, I don't know, talk about anything that kind of comes to mind. I just don't have
Yeah.
I don't have any format. Like we just go with the flow, just roll with it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's so many political podcasts out there anyway that it's hard to keep track of them all. So I guess it's sometimes not always necessary. But yeah, I actually my friend just did like my friend who's a director and like producer just did a film challenge. And I was involved. He had his movie there last year. It's actually Kevin Smith's festival. And so I was in the movie this year, which was fun because I got to do some scenes with him. So yeah, I am trying to stay
Nice.
busy. Sometimes my my husband paints and we've been talking about how going into our art as an outlet at this time is helpful. Like it's a good way to I almost with everything going on, I want to like go further into my art than even before. So I feel like it's a good place to have an outlet.
Yeah. And speaking of an outlet, I guess this kind of segues into the first, I guess technically first question that I have for you. So, I would have asked, like, you hear on a lot of different interviews, like, how did you get started? But honestly, I think your story was pretty interesting because, if I'm not mistaken, your grandmother produced and owned a theater company in Long Island. And I guess that was kind of like your first taste into the world of acting and theater and the showbiz, would you say?
Yeah, yeah, she did. She owned it was a community theater, so it wasn't like a professional like theater, but it was a community theater that she was very much passionate about and involved in. And I was involved with some productions with her. And I think like she actually used to, one of the first things I ever did with her was like Mother Goose shows, which was she used to go to like bookstores or like camps for with kids and have like have performances of the Mother Goose stories. She would play Mother Goose. And my cousin was involved with some of them also. And yeah, it was that was really fun. And then she did some shows. She did bring a show to the New York Fringe Festival, and she was great. She was really involved, and so it was like a jumping off point for me, I think. My parents were both professionals, but they were both artsy in general, like music, things like writing, poetry. So it was sort of a natural progression for me to kind of pursue an artistic career. And yeah, I was in two musicals with my grandmother's company, Oliver and The King and I. There may have been another one in there, but yeah, it was fun to she was well known in the like town because of that. People liked being able to see theater in that way. Can you just hold on one second? I'm sorry. I'm
Okay,
just
sure thing.
one second.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
Sorry about that. We're back. So yeah, just going back of what you were talking about with your grandmother, Shirley. Yeah. So you were in a theater company for Long Island. Would you say that that was kind of like the building foundations of, with your training and discovering, I guess, your talent and just pretty much where you kind of honed your acting skills per se?
Yeah, definitely a lot. Like so then I took classes during the summer at a studio in Manhattan called HB Studio, which I've also studied at as an adult a bit. And my mom and dad let me come in and take classes in the summer, like youth acting classes. I went to Frenchwood's Festival of the Performing Arts, which is like like a theater camp, a performing arts centered camp. There are sports and such, but so I also did shows there. And I just met someone who had also gone there after I did, but it's funny because there's like a lot of people that you'll run into who spend time at that camp. It's sort of there's like a few camps like Frenchwoods. And I also was in plays in school, like plays in high school and junior high. I actually did Oliver twice, like once with my grandma and once in sixth grade. So I've done Oliver twice. It's the only show that I've done twice.
And Oliver, were you in the original production or was it just the adaptation that your grandmother produced? Just
I don't
wondering.
think because I know there's like an Oliver Jr. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I've
I
heard
mean,
of that one. I'm just familiar with the original OG.
yeah, I think it was definitely with her. It would have been the normal one because she cast adults. I was, I don't know, like 14 when I did it, so I was sort of a teen, like young adult. But in the sixth grade one, like the one I did in actually, I think it may have been the first play they did in my school, in my sixth grade school. But I don't know if that was, I feel like that was also the original. I don't know if that second one, like that offshoot, that abridged one had come out yet, maybe. But I think it was accurate. Like I think it was the normal one, which is pretty funny for like sixth graders because it's pretty dark.
Yeah.
They actually should revive it. I mean, I think I was just talking to this about this. I think they should revive it because I think it's really relevant now.
Yeah. I mean, especially with today's day and age where it's like, oh yeah, we just wanted to dive into the more gritty, dark stuff, especially now. I mean, we've been getting shows like, I don't know, Stranger Things or, just a lot of these dark, dramas and sci-fi and I mean the
And you know,
imagination is endless, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
yeah, and Stranger Things is coming to Broadway. Did you know that? They're doing like a Broadway version.
Well, you heard it here on the podcast.
Heard it here first, my friends. I mean, people heard it here first for people who didn't hear it first. But yes. But yeah, yeah, exactly. And also just right. Like they bring, the thing is with like the theater that's at a lot of the regional theaters or a lot of the Broadway is that they do like do Sweeney Todd a lot, or they'll do like like they're doing Glengarry Glen Ross again, and it's like these are great shows, but some of the older ones that haven't been revived in a while. I mean, I don't even know the last time. I'm surprised. I'd have to talk to some of my friends who are a little bit more like connected into the Broadway community, but I'm surprised that that hasn't come back. I think it's really relevant.
I mean, hey, never say never.
Exactly. So it's like soon.
Yeah, exactly. So after you had your whole, I guess, theater and Broadway type of experience, how would you say that, getting your jump into television and, film, TV, how would you say that, that whole transition was like for you? Because you've already done the theater. So how would you say was the experience of getting your first taste into the world of TV and film and all that jazz?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so basically what happened was I was at the end of high school, maybe, and I thought I should major in theater. Like I didn't feel any other reason to go to school necessarily. Like I think that that was the major reason why I went to school. I just felt like I should do theater. It just felt right for me. And I took business classes too. And then so I did also did shows in college. I actually the first film I ever did was in college. I transferred into the college that I graduated from New School, but I started at a school called Fairleigh Dickinson in New Jersey. And I was I was like doing something for the show, and this guy came over who I knew, and he was saying, can you be in our movie? Can you be in our student film? Like the actress just dropped out. And I was like, okay. So that was the first film I ever did. And then I did more theater like in school. But the funny thing about that film is I don't know if I want to say this because it might show my age, but it was like right coming out when YouTube was invented or right before.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I
Happy
don't know
20
if it's just
years, YouTube.
it's like right around there, like okay. And I, so he sent me like the file of the video and I watched it like a few times and my friends and I watched it and it was crazy. And then it disappeared. It completely disappeared. And like it just went away. And then I tried to get another copy of it from him. And like I even contacted like the professor that like was the film professor and it's just like completely disappeared. But I'm glad I got to watch it a few times at least. I mean, probably looking back, I would have been like, oh, no one needs to see this. But and so that was my first film. I actually remember going on an audition sort of with my grandmother for a film, which I did not get. It was when I was like a teenager. And it was a short or something. But and then so fast forward to like the end of college, a friend of my sister's actually worked at a talent agency. And so I called them up and asked like if I could intern. And so I interned and then I was like an assistant at a talent agency for film, TV, theater, and comedy for like a year probably. So I got a really like nice view of like of the other side of the business of what it means to like work at an agency and what goes into all of that. And then I stopped doing that and I started working probably like in indie films. I did a feature and then like a couple feature films and then got some other roles too like in TV. So it was sort of like a combination of that, having tried film in college and then working in the agency. So I had like more of an understanding of what goes into auditioning for film and TV, and then just continuing to study like camera, like camera acting and film acting.
For sure. Yeah. I guess with everything that you've already been doing, it just kind of all like, it's kind of like the snowball effect from what you're describing to me.
Yeah, like one of my friends who works primary, well, it's not an actor, he works behind the scenes. He's like work begets work. So I think it's true. Like I think right, you kind of have and also my sensibility, at least when I was younger when it came to acting, I think now it's a little different. just kind of fit a little bit more for film and TV, because it's so intimate and it's so like in your eyes. It's not as presentational as like theatrical acting. So, yeah, but it's funny because then I started doing some more theater after not doing theater for a while. But yeah, it's like it all kind of goes together. It's all a similar skill set. And then also the other thing I did was I actually took classes with someone else in Long Island that was sort of in the Long Island like acting theater circuit. And I didn't do any film. I did primarily theater there, but that was called Bare Bones. And the gentleman who ran it was so lovely. He just passed away sadly like a year or two ago. Jeff Bennett was his name. But a lot of people in the New York scene like now who are from the tri-state area or from Long Island like had worked at that studio, had done work at that studio. So that was also a nice connection.
Yeah, right on. So, if I were to list off everything that you've done, we'd probably be here all night, but you've worked, I mean, you've done so many projects with Netflix, Amazon, Apple, pretty much all of the main streaming services, and including MTV, like,
Yeah.
I just gotta ask you this, like, what would you say was kind of like the most defining moment in your career? Not favorite, but just something that really made you go back to the time when you were a kid and then you just fell in love with acting. And this is why you really love doing this.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few instances like that. Like one was a really cool project I did with actually two creators who had Down syndrome. And they created the movie themselves, with some help from their family and friends. But it actually ended up raising like a ton of money and I had two movies, a short and like a documentary with the short in it. And it was really interesting to like work with they were named Sam and Maddie. It was called Sam and Maddie Make a Zombie Movie. It's on Apple and Prime, I think also. Um, and it was just really nice to be able to use the art or the form of cinema and film, but also kind of do this interesting thing, which was support artists who are different, not like differently abled, um, who have a story to tell and whose probably stories we should hear just as much as we should hear, able-bodied, if you will, like people's stories. And so that was great. And then also I did a really cool thing where I like did a tour. Actually, it's a little bit political. This is a little older now, but I did a school I did a play about like preventing bullying, um and like how to prevent it and how to step in or how to intervene in a way that will like help the victim without escalating the situation. And we went to schools in the whole area and we went to this one like really cushy like wealthy school and it was actually for Kellyanne Conway. You know who that is? Kellyanne Conway.
Kelly Conway. I've definitely heard of it. I haven't checked it out. I'm sorry.
You don't have to. She was really involved with Trump's first administration and she was
Yeah.
very kind of
Now it rings a bell.
and her husband was George Conway, who was like a lawyer who then kind of broke completely away, was conservative, but like broke completely away from Trump. And it was their kid who I did it for. And their kid, I don't know this 100% sure, but their kid ended up like having this whole TikTok channel about equal rights and about standing up to like about being progressive and about anti-Trump and sort of sided with her dad really more than her mom. And I think I was like, I think this was the person I did the bully play for, and it was like felt validating.
I think I know the TikTok. I think I might have seen them around like way back when. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that felt validating. I mean, and I'm pretty sure it was the same like it was one of the kids, but I'm pretty certain it was that person. And I was like, oh wow, like I think we made a difference in someone's life. So that was
So
cool.
yeah, that's great, great. So growing up, did you have like any influential TV shows or just people that any piece of media that really inspired you to continue pursuing this?
Yeah, definitely. More than like one for sure. But honestly,
Exactly. Yeah.
one of the big inspirations for me, to be honest, was The Sopranos. Um, I just watched it when I was like a teen, and it was funny because my parents let me watch it. I mean, my parents were very loosey-goosey with like what they let me watch, although sometimes they would argue like and not let me watch things, but um they let me watch it. I was like a teenager, again, showing my age. But I think that I don't know that I would be acting, to be honest, like if it wasn't for The Sopranos. It just was really inspiring to me. And it was also so New York and like so Jersey. Like
Hmm.
I yeah, like I don't know, it's clearly about like the mob, but it's I actually watched a little bit of it again recently and it's like very relatable even though it's this like outstanding circumstance. Like clearly you're not like a criminal and you're not in the mob, but the way the characters were experiencing life besides like the mob was relatable. And I think as an adult it's like wow, no, it really was. And then also probably like Titanic was a big inspiration for me. I mean, I loved that movie when I was younger. Like Clueless is a huge movie. I don't know if all actors do this or used to do this when they were kids, but I used to like act out the movie in my basement, like in front of my TV. Like sometimes I would do it with friends, but a lot of times I would do it alone. Like with also The Little Princess, that was also a big one for me. Like I would literally just be like on the couch, like walking around, like pretending I was in the movie, like doing the actions and words. And I thought like every kid was doing it. And I think I think some were, but I don't know. I think most of the people who are actors now. I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah, I think some of my influences, and I think we kind of talked a little bit about this from our last meeting, but I just watched like a lot of shows. I mean, I've talked about this in length in previous episodes, but a lot of the, cartoons like Disney, Warner Brothers, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon way back in the day were like huge influences on me. And as you can see, I have like Sonic in the background. So like a lot of video games, a lot of Sonic, PlayStation, Nintendo stuff. But specifically what got me into acting was because I wanted to be a kid actor on Nickelodeon, a Disney Channel growing up, but then I didn't, because at the time I didn't really know how to really break into the business. But yeah, I'm not gonna go too much into it, but especially with the case of, being a child actor on like Disney or Nickelodeon, it's yeah. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, there's a documentary out there which,
Oh yeah, oh my
yeah,
God. That was such an upsetting documentary. That was really upsetting. Wow. I was very distressed by that documentary. But I did
yeah,
want to say when you asked me like what influenced me, I mean also the cartoons for sure. Like
yeah.
and the kids. I wasn't I mean, I guess I was like into the Olsen twins. They were like they also
Mm.
did all those movies. They had those a couple some TV shows. So I guess I was sort of I don't know that I was like I want to become like a kid star. I don't know if that maybe that was sort of part of it. My sister told my parents they should take me in auditions, but both my parents worked full time. And then I've like as an adult actor, sometimes I was mad at them. I was like, I should have been working as a kid, but I'm over that now. But yeah, definitely the cartoons like and the kids shows for sure too. Like that definitely also had an impact on me. But yeah, actually I was looking at your shirt and when you were saying that about Sonic, I thought for a second that that was like the villain. It's not.
No, this is from Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah.
but you'd be
Like just
mistaken. Yeah, I'm sorry.
seeing like the image small, I was like, is that the
Is
guy
that the
who's
villain? Oh, Dr. Robot Eggman. Yeah, I mean he kind of does look like like him, but no, this is from like Dragon Ball Z,
yeah.
like another like show anime that I kind of watched on Toonami way back when. Cause I am old, yo.
I like played Sonic. I played like Sonic. I played like Metal Gear Solid.
Oh my god, yeah.
I played uh there were so many like games that I would be playing. Like Toy Story. Do you remember the Toy Story Sega game? That was the shit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, you
That
just
was a
took me down
great game.
memory lane. I had it on a PC. This was back when we used to play games on those PCs. Yep,
Oh my
way
God.
back.
Did you ever play Dr. Brain?
Uh, no.
Okay, this was like a PC game, and
Wait a
I
minute.
actually saw they had like on YouTube they have some like videos of the beginning and then also people playing it because like it's hard to get like you can get that stuff to play now. Like there's like these if you're into tech and stuff, but it's hard because there's just like old file like old formats. But I loved that game was it was sort of almost like brainy games. Like I don't know, there was like mazes and like word games.
Oh, the educational stuff,
It was like
sort of?
educational, but it was fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's a 90. Ah, yeah. I used to have like a lot of those 90s games on my computer PC. Yeah. Good
Yeah.
times. Good times, Windows, man. Yeah. I mean, like, I was just rewatching, some of the old school, like, shows and cartoons, like Looney Tunes or Rocky Bullwinkle, the Hanna-Barbera stuff that came out way back when. And something about those just feels very timeless because you could watch it, you watch them as a kid, and then you just, laugh and enjoy them, and then enjoy, like, all the characters and the silly adventures they go into. But then when you're adult, you kind of start getting the I guess they call them like adult smart writing, like the more innuendos that they put in there. So you
Yeah.
kind of feel like, yeah, when you watch it as an adult, it's like, oh, okay, this is actually kind of relatable. You kind of get some of the more like dialogue, witty humor that they have in there. So yeah, and they were really ahead of their time, especially like the Rocky and Bullwinkle stuff, y'all.
Yeah, for sure. And like they always put stuff in for the adults in there that like the kids wouldn't get
Exactly.
watches and
But
stuff.
like, yeah, they kind of put it like, kind of like, very subtle that it doesn't take you until like years later of like, because that's the same if I'm watching like Animaniacs, for instance, from like way back in the 90s. Because they do a lot of that type of humor, but then they also have like songs, they have, slapstick, and it's just really wonderful. So yeah,
No,
I'm
the
just taking us
animation.
down memory lane in this episode.
Yeah, no, the memory lane is always fun to go down, but
Exactly.
animation's great. And like there was
Yeah.
definitely a time where I kind of was not into animation, but now
Hmm.
I've been watching more animation and I think it's great. I
Yeah.
think it's really great. Like, and there's so many, my friend just told me that his favorite movie of the year was the movie that won like best animated movie. And Flow, I think it was called for the Oscar. And I want to watch it. I think yeah, especially the older school and also the newer stuff. I mean, it's interesting how it's changed, but then everyone's
Yeah.
upset about apparently people online are upset about the new Shrek and how he looks. I don't know about this.
Oh my God.
Have
Yeah.
you heard of this?
That.
People are like
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
angry. And I'm like, he looks the same. And then people are like, no.
No, he kind of looks like this is AI. This has got to be AI. Oh my God.
Like, I don't know. I don't know what they think. I think
People
he
just
looks
get mad
very
about.
similar.
Look, people will just get mad about anything these days. Let's just be real.
Remember when like everyone got mad about Sonic the Hedgehog movie and then they like actually redid it before putting it
And
out?
some people are still not satisfied. It's like, guys, what do you want? Do
It's
you
a
like
hedgehog,
want like it's Sonic?
blue hedgehog.
Nobody is really ever satisfied with this series.
You know what other
Yeah.
Sega game I just thought of, which I also really liked, which was also Disney related? Aladdin. Do you remember that game on
Oh
Sega?
yeah, Aladdin. I think I did. I ever
It was
play?
so good.
No, I think
It
I
was
had
so
like the. Oh no, it wasn't Aladdin. What PC game
good.
that was also Disney, but it was on Sega? Oh God,
A lot. I mean, there's so many.
The Lion King. I think maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I think I played that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then there
but
was PlayStation, like that was sort of
oh
the
yeah, the PlayStation. We got Crash and Spyro, Kingdom Hearts.
I was gonna mention Spyro. I
Yeah,
loved that.
Yeah,
I
I have a
really
friend who is like a huge Spyro fan, and we're just like, "Oh yeah, you gotta play like the trilogy on like on the Nintendo Switch." And I'm like, "I will. Just let me get through the crash on the Switch, and then we'll talk."
is it still out? Like, I guess you can just go back and play an old.
Yeah, like it's been out on the Nintendo Switch for some time, and I do have my Switch somewhere in my room.
I should, yeah, that'd be fun
Yeah,
to.
but yeah, it's been really fun. I think you've kind of mentioned one of your dream roles on your little website, but you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, if this is what you're referring to, but I'll talk about it anyway.
Okay.
I don't know. One of the things I forgot to mention when you were asking my inspiration was my. Can we pause? Can we pause one more time?
Okay, yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Better.
Okay,
Uh,
continue.
so one of the things I meant to say when I talked about inspiration was there was an art house cinema in my town, and my parents would take me to a lot of like artsy movies. And back then there wasn't like streaming, so you had to go see or rent something. And so they used to take me to see like foreign films and art house films. And so I think that also, besides the things that I mentioned before, instilled in me a love for cinema that was different than just like every American movie that was in the normal theater. And I also then took a class in college about European cinema. And so I got into some really amazing directors who were European. Um, and one thing I would love to be, I'm like really into existential European cinema. And that's like the kind of movie I want to be in. Like that, I don't know. Like that's my jam. And there are some American directors who are working in that style, like Paul Thomas Anderson, Rick Alverson's one, like probably the guy who just did The Brutalist. I saw one of his other films. I didn't see The Brutalist yet, but he actually worked with one of my favorite directors, Michael Haneke, who's German. So that's like one of my dream roles is a really slow moving existential existential film. Like that's one of my I would love to work in that genre. Um, and then also I would say that's my answer to that question.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of your writing because you're in a group, if I'm not mistaken, and you've also are a poet and you've done over like what, close to 70 or so. But yeah, let's talk about writing for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right. So I am a poet and I've written many poems, probably over 75 at this point. And I love poetry and I'm really passionate about poetry. I actually wrote a poem the other night, which I have to probably go back and edit. But I definitely feel like it's one way to really express myself. But it's interesting. A lot of people, when they talk about their poetry, they talk about it in a very sort of self-centered view. Like it's about their process of the emotions or their process of the experience. And yes, like absolutely, that's what it is. But I really, most of my poetry deals with like space and time. I mean, most of my poetry is more about like the bigger questions, I would say. Of course, I've written poems about experiences that I've had personally that mean a lot to me or that I had questions about that I was like dealing with. But I like to think on like a macro scale when I'm writing my poetry. But and then so kind of in a natural progression, my poetry I write more scripts now. And I'm in a writing and acting and development group called Brazen Giant Ensemble. And we did a play last year, which was really fun. But we like help develop each other's work. We bring our scripts in, we read our scripts, we give each other feedback. We also do like acting scenes or audition work. And we're constantly just trying to develop work and there's been films that have developed from the ensemble. And so right now I'm also in developing a series. We have 3 episodes. It's a comedy. It's more like a rom. It's kind of like a rom-com. It's definitely like a comedy with a rom-com element with the co-founder of Brazen Giant. And then I have like a lot of scripts in development, but I'm starting to write. a new feature now, which I have like the first 10 pages of. And then I also wrote a short that I produced called Graceless, which is on Prime, and then there's a couple other apps that it's on like Fossum and Cineverse. It's called Graceless. It's like a romantic drama about about an engaged couple who are exposing their secrets to each other. And that one's fun because people can really relate to it, but it's really not autobiographical at all. Like it's not about my own experiences, but a lot of people think it is because it's about being unfaithful and it's about cheating. But so many people who've seen it are like, I could like really relate to that, or was that based on something? And I said, really wasn't autobiographical, but thanks. Um, yeah, so I also wrote other shorts that have been produced as well, but yeah, writing's great. Writing's definitely something that I also love to do, and I try to find solace in. Do you write? Have you written anything? You've done
Yeah,
some shorts on YouTube, like some YouTube stuff.
yeah, just some of the stuff that you can find on my channel. But we'll conclude this in the next part here. So if you want to like, subscribe, just do it. And I'll see you all in the next part coming shortly.
Yeah.
Peace. Welcome back and welcome to the finale of this interview. I don't really have much else to say, but thank you so much for joining me, Justine. And I think you've kind of shared pretty much all of the the stuff that you're kind of doing right now. So if there's anything else that you'd like to indulge us in, now's the time to do so.
I have a good idea. You all should go to sunnyskies.com. It's a news store. It's like a news website that only has good news. It's been around for quite a few years, but it's Sunny Sunny skies SKYZ. Because sometimes when I'm feeling overwhelmed or if there's too much going on, I just need a boost or there's too much negative news. I go there and I'm like, oh, this is nice. And it's stories mostly about, it has a variety of really nice, like positive, uplifting stories. Because I think that ultimately at the end of the day, that's what it all is. That's what most of what humanity is. Not all by any means, but most. So go there and check it out if you're feeling down.
Yeah, of course. And where can people check out your stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on social, Justine S. Harrison. I think that's my name across all socials, besides maybe X, which I do still have. But it says Justine S. Harrison, but I think the handle was too long, so it's Justine S. Harris O with no N. But everything else is Justine S. Harrison. I'm also on YouTube and Vimeo. So yeah, you can find me, and I have links to the films and stuff that I've done, and you can see clips, etc. YouTube and all the fun things.
Yeah. So real quick, what was the project that got you your SAG card and your experience being a SAG actress?
Yeah, actually, it was my friend's web series. My friend produced a web series called Unsung Heroes, which is about like kind of reject degenerate superheroes that were needed to save Falcon City. And it was fun. It was a We did a couple episodes of it, and that was how I got my SAG card. So that was really neat. It was like a new media contract. I think it's still called new media, even though it's streaming, internet, whatever. And yeah, so that's definitely been a really great part of my career. It's uh just led to some amazing opportunities. You often get to be seen for things that you wouldn't necessarily be seen if you weren't SAG. And yeah, I think it elevates the connections you have and who you're working with. So it's a great guild to be a part of.
Yeah. I think I did episodes talking about the pros and cons of being a SAG member, but I don't know if it's really redundant to really go over for tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean there are pros and cons, of course. There's definitely pros and cons, but I think ultimately it was definitely one of a good thing to do for your career. I do if you're not SAG, what I'll say is I don't think you should join too early. That's what a lot of people make that mistake. So if you're non-SAG and you're thinking I want to become SAG, what I would say to you is don't become SAG unless unless you're asked to become SAG, which is like you've done SAG roles already, and you're like, there's a point where you can only do so many, and then you're like basically told you have to join. So, or strongly advised to. So wait for that. Or if you're like, if you even if you haven't necessarily booked, but you've done a decent amount of non-union stuff and you're like actively auditioning for SAG projects, then I say go ahead. But I think unless those are the two circumstances, I don't think you should. I think you should wait to join.
Yep. And if you want to hire Justine, here she is.
Yes, hello.
She's available.
I'm hireable.
Yeah, so for all of you NYC, LA,
Atlanta. I also
you
have
know,
representation in the Southeast. So also Atlanta or NOLA too.
yeah, yeah, representation. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be an episode in and of itself, of course.
Yeah, no, it helps. It definitely helps for sure. So I'm glad to be I'm actually also represented in Chicago, but so I'm represented.
Yeah.
Home agent.
And any last bit of advice that you want to close out with? Just for those that want to do this, what they should expect, or just, I don't know, any last words?
Yeah, I think if you're an actor and you're like new or you want to do acting, what I'll say is like don't give up after a couple of years if you're not where you think you should be. This is a really long game and you really have to be in it to win it and in it for the long haul. Of course, people become famous or get good work like quick, but that's not going to happen in a lot of the circumstances. So just stick with it, my friends. That's my advice.
Awesome. And would you like to do an outro for this podcast?
Sure. What do I do?
Oh, you just say your name like, "Hi, I'm Justine Harrison. You've seen me on list of projects, and this is Station Square podcast with Robert Jackson." Pretty simple.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I'm Justine S. Harrison. You've seen me on MTV, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and Tubi and Apple. And this is such a fun podcast called Station Square and with Robert Jackson. And you're so great. Thank you for having me. I hope you have a great night.
Awesome. And as for my final words, the sky's the limit. Imagination, just creativity. There's no limit. Imagination just runs wild, and just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I can say. So if you want to check out my stuff, I do have a upcoming indie project called Solomon Shrine. You can watch the teaser on my YouTube channel, and episode one should be coming out later this year, give or take, Lord willing. Unless if even more craziness come up, which I pray it doesn't. But regardless, if you want to check out my stuff, I have a YouTube, which you can check out all my episodes on Spotify, SoundCloud, just listing off everything. Or I could just send over my card. It has all my social media on there.
Yeah, please.
Still updating it, so yeah.
Oh, I think I saw it. It was in your signature, like your Gmail.
I think so, yeah.
I think I did see it.
But yeah,
It's
thank you
like
so
a,
much. Oh, I'm sorry.
it's like a link tree sort of. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw.
Linktree, card. Yeah, it's kind of easier. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on Station Square with Robert Jackson and Justine S. Harrison, and we'll talk to you later. And if we do a follow up in the future, stay tuned. Alrighty,
Yeah.
love y'all. Live long and prosper. Bye.